Welcome to this challenge video on these unit conversions. My assumption is that you have done some unit conversions, especially kind of one-dimensional, maybe two-dimensional. And I have done an introductory unit conversion video. So I would encourage you to definitely go over that if you haven't done any conversions at all, instead of jumping to this challenge. So I'll put up a link up above there to that particular video to get you started. Now, here's 4 examples where we want to be able to go from one particular unit to another. But what you're noticing is that the units, okay, themselves, so here, I mean, there's definitely 2 particular units, so 2 dimensions, okay, within here. So notice meters per second, which would have been distance and time. And it's still converting to kilometers per hour, which is still distance per time. But you have 2 units to worry about. In the second example, it gets even worse because in here, so you have pounds per feet squared. And I'm not expecting you to actually know what pounds per feet squared would actually be measuring. It's not my interest. The interest is, can you actually convert, if you have a unit, okay, to another different unit with certain ratios provided to you. So I provide you certain ones, and you should be familiar with quite a few of these already. So obviously time, okay, and some of the metric prefixes ones are hopefully self-explanatory. And if you've forgotten about metric prefixes, I can put up a link up above there. So it's not a self-contained video. So there is an assumption as you're kind of moving along. It's actually one of the more challenges, kind of probably for first chapter in your physics, but you've done some unit conversions already. So let's tackle these. So here is the first example. So let's duplicate it and bring it back, and we want to be able to convert to kilometers per hour. All right. Okay, so if we want to do that, I'm going to just shift that all the way to the right. How would we proceed? Well, when you are converting, what I actually recommend that students do, if you do have units and then there's one unit on top and then there's another unit in the denominator, like you have in this case and like you have in all the other examples, then I would encourage you to do them one at a time. So what would that mean? So the first one, I'll just show you right from the start. So assume that it was just 10 meters. And now if they asked you to convert 10 meters, and notice that on the top, on the numerator right here, so kilometers, okay, is right on top. So if you wanted to convert from meters to kilometers, because it's just a metric prefix, you can certainly just shift the decimal around, or you can certainly use, because they provide us that 1 kilometer is equal to 1,000 meters. Now what that would do is it would allow you to take a look and then just cancel one of those and do the conversion. So we know that the meter would have to go at the bottom. So there's 1,000 meters in 1 kilometer. And this would just get rid of the meters and we would be stuck with kilometers. And of course, if we would write this whole thing out, we would get, okay, something like this. Now you can keep it to as many decimal places as you like. I'm not going to worry about that in this video. And this would have given us kilometers. And that's not anything new for us. What is new is that we're not just dealing with meters, right? We are actually dealing with also seconds in the denominator. But you can separate it into 2 separate problems. So you can first convert it back into kilometers, as I have just done. So what would that mean? That would mean that up above there, okay, so as you would be going through this, okay, so this, I'll duplicate it and bring it back up. And we would assume that seconds is just not there for the moment. And this would just cancel out the meters themselves. And we would get the actual kilometers, which is what we wanted to have as our unit. So that would have been the first thing that we would have done. And now, once you get your kilometers up on top, then you can start worrying about the seconds at the bottom. So now how do I get rid of those seconds at the bottom? Well, you continue, right? So you do not want to have seconds in the denominator. So as you would proceed, you would say, okay, so I want to cancel seconds. So I'm going to put it up on top so that it cancels out. I know that there are 60 seconds, all right, in 1 minute. Okay, so within here, so this is what I would do. Okay, so that's the first thing that I have. But of course, I am not interested in converting this to minutes. I'm interested in converting this to hours. So this is fine because it would cancel your seconds, but then you're stuck with the minutes in the denominator. So you would have to convert the minutes, and then there are 60 minutes that you have in 1 hour. So the minutes now cancel each other off, and now you're stuck with the hours, which is what you wanted. So notice you actually now have exactly what you were looking for. So you have now first gotten rid of the meters, so that got you your kilometer. Then you got rid of the seconds, all right, so that cancels that. Now we got minutes, but then we can get rid of the minutes, okay, but multiplying by 60 minutes per 1 hour. So this process is really beneficial when you're breaking things down and just taking a unit if you want to cancel the unit on top first. That's what I like to do. And then take the one that you have at the bottom and then cancel that one. All right. So for this, okay, if you wanted to proceed and find out what the answer is, well, then you would have to punch this back into your calculator. So it would be 10, right? So times. Now I'm going to do all the actual numbers up on top there. So times 1 times 60 times 60. So that gets all of the ones on top. Okay, and you can hit equals. So that would give you what you have in the numerator. And then you have the division, right? So in the division in the denominator, right? So you would substitute back in. Now that answer divided by, now I'm actually only dividing by 1,000, okay, right there, because of the fact that the other ones are just ones. So this divided by 1,000 would give me 36, all right? And this is 36, and this would have been kilometers per hour, okay? So that's how you can proceed, at least with this information that is given to you. All right, so this is what we would have in here, and that's how you would do the unit conversion. So that's one of them. Now let's take a look at another one. So the next one is actually a little bit even more challenging, okay, than this. I'm going to just copy this back down. So now how do I do this, right? So I want to convert this to kilograms per meter squared, and I have pounds and then feet squared. So once again, my recommendation is, all right, so I have pounds and I want to have kilograms. So just one at a time. So let's, first start off. So I'm going to get rid of my pounds. So I definitely don't want to have pounds. So I'll put that in the denominator. Now, what is given to me in terms of the ratios? Now I know that, so for example here, 1 kilogram is equal to 2.2 pounds. So this is going to be 2.2, and that's 1 kilogram. So that gets rid of my pounds, and it leaves me, okay, with the kilograms, which is what I wanted, right? So that's right there. So check mark, check mark. That's done. Now you will proceed to the next item. So that's going to be your feet squared. Now you don't want to have feet squared, right? We want to have meters squared, okay? So fine. So I'm going to just change the color here for us. So now I'm going to proceed. Now feet is in the denominator on my original unit. So now I'm going to put feet up above. All right. Now please don't put squared yet. I know that that's what we want to cancel, right? But because it's two-dimensional, that feet, okay, so it looks like it's area in the bottom. So I have just feet, and now I want to be able to see if I can bring it back to meters. Okay, so within here, so as I go through this, okay, so this particular ratio is not given to us, so this is something that we can look up. So it turns out that 1 meter is equal to 3.28 feet, okay? And if this was, your teachers, if they expect you to memorize these, okay, that's fine. If they give you these ratios, okay, which I typically do give to my students, I don't expect them, unless it's some very common ones. I mean, time I will not give to students. They should know that 1 hour is equal to 60 minutes, 1 minute equals to 60 seconds. And typically the metric prefixes is something that students should slowly get used to, especially the common ones like, you know, kilo, centi, milli. Okay, so those ones are the most common ones. So in any case, so we have 1 meter is equal to 3.28 feet. So I'm going to put that right here. And that relates it back to meters for me, right? So the feet. Now I can't really cancel this off, right? Because it is squared. And so from that original video, that's why I said that you should watch, okay, the first introductory unit conversion. We would square this because of the fact that we do have the feet squared, or we can multiply it 2 times. So with this squaring, the feet squared will cancel the feet squared, okay? And that squared, of course, is going to come into the brackets in there. Okay, so now you're going to have everything squared as needed. And from here, you can proceed. So this is going to be 3.2 multiplied by, it's times 1, you know, times 3.28. So that's my numerator right there. And then by my denominator, so I only am dividing by 2.2 because the other one is a 1. So this would have given me my answer, right? And you can put this. Now again, you know, you can round as needed if it's to the significant figures or if your teachers are asking you to something. I'll leave this because my goal in this video is to show you how to convert to the units that you need. Okay, so that's what you would have for this second example. Let's take a look at another example. So here's the third example. So this one right here, so 9.8 meters per second squared is actually a common. It is an acceleration. If you're going to be going on into physics, you'll learn about that. And so from here, so let's see if we can get a little bit better now at these conversions. So this is what we want, okay, to convert to kilometers per hour squared. So again, so first, proceed by getting rid of this meters, right? So start with that first. So the one in the numerator. So I'm going to get rid of this. So the meter is going to go down at the bottom. Now there's only one of them. It's not squared or cubed, so I don't have to worry. Now meters and kilometers, really that is just a metric prefix, right? So kilo, there's 1,000 of those. Now, it actually, I did provide this right here. 1 kilometer is equals to 1,000 meters. Okay, so in case you have forgotten. So that's a kilometer. So this is going to get rid of this meter right here. Okay, so that's gone. And it's going to give me my kilometer, which is what I wanted, right? So this is what I wanted to have in there. So that's the first thing, right? So I've changed meters to kilometers. So that's gone. Now, my second item is I have to now worry about this seconds squared. So again, you just proceed and you look at the unit, so seconds. So you're going to put seconds in here. Now we know there's 60 seconds in 1 minute. All right, so this is what we have. Okay, so within here. Now, this is, notice, squared. Okay, so this is seconds squared. So we're going to have to square this. But as you can see, if I square this, then I'm going to get the seconds, which is going to be gone, but I'm going to have minutes squared. So notice, I still am going to have this minutes, but I wanted to have hours, right? Right in there. So this is very tricky, okay, to be able, you know, to think about that, because it's going to give us the actual unit, which is going to be kilometers, but it's going to be per minutes squared, but I want hours squared. So I actually would have to proceed one more time, okay, to multiply this, because I don't want to have the minutes. So I want to get rid of the minutes. Okay, so that's that minute from the bottom. Now there are 60 minutes in 1 hour. And this is going to bring me to those hours. But notice, of course, that it is squared. So I'm going to have to square this. And this now will give us exactly what we wanted. And this is really tricky, you know, so walk yourself through to try to see if you can follow. Get rid of your meter, change it to kilometer. Get rid of the seconds. It does lead us into minutes, but then you can get rid of the minutes and then change it to hours. It's one extra step. But this is definitely a challenge, and it will be a challenge for you if you haven't seen this. So now, in order to do this, I'm going to have 9.8, okay, so multiplied by, and I'm going to just show you, okay, how to input all of this. You can input it one at a time, but please put it in brackets. So this is going to be 1 over 1,000. Now, I'm only doing that because of the fact that I have those squares, okay, so I'm going to do this. So next times, so this is my next one, so bracket, okay, now this is 60, well, it's 60 divided by 1, which is still going to be 60, so this is going to be 60 squared, okay, and then times, I guess, another 60 squared, okay, so that's the last one, so I'm not going to necessarily put this in brackets, that's the only thing that I have in there, and this is going to give us, okay, our number. Now this is pretty big, and that's fine, okay, and that can happen, and sometimes we'll use scientific notation in order to write out those particular numbers. And for scientific notation, I'll put up a link up above there, okay, if you got yourself up to here and you forget, because you can certainly write this in scientific notation, but now it's going to be kilometers per, okay, so the seconds are gone, the minutes are gone, and it only leaves us with hours squared. Now, as a little challenge for yourself, you know, to write it out, okay, and this would have been in scientific notation. Typically, we wouldn't really write that last one there, and it was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All right, that's how that would have been written out. Okay, it might force you back into scientific notation, and of course, we would have our units, okay, if needed. Because sometimes the numbers are extremely big or extremely small, and it's a little bit easier to use it in scientific notation. So that's our third example that we would have. And this one is pretty interesting in order to be able to see it, okay, in this way. So now here's a last one, and this one is a really challenging one, okay, that we have in here. Let me copy this, and let's see if we can do that. So I would encourage you, you know, to pause the video and try it on your own, because now you have something on top and it's cubed, something at the bottom, okay, as well. So it looks like it's volume on top, you know, per minutes squared. So it looks like it's maybe an acceleration of some kind of liquid, or maybe an IV which is running and speeding up, or something of that nature. Again, it doesn't matter. That our goal is, can we actually do the conversion? So I'm going to duplicate this back in here, and let's see what this gives us. So let's take it one at a time. So first off, I'm going to start with the numerator. So the centimeters I do not want. Okay, I want millimeters. And from our ratios over here, okay, if you forget, so 1 centimeter is just 10 millimeters. That's a prefix. Okay, it's just 1 decimal spot over. However, so 1 centimeters, 10 millimeters. However, it is cubed. So I'm going to take this and I'm going to cube it, right? To get rid of this, which is going to be cubed, and this centimeters and that cubed, and it's going to leave me with millimeters cubed on top, which is what I wanted. Now, the next item, okay, that I have, so I'm going to go, okay, so that's fine. Now, in the denominator, minutes, okay, so I want to get rid of minutes, and I want to have seconds. Well, 1 minute equals to 60 seconds, but it's squared. So I have to square this, okay, throughout as I go through. So that's now squared, and now I can proceed, okay, in order to write it out. So, okay, in way to put it into your calculator, so 135 times, you know, you can put the rest, okay, in brackets. So notice 10 over 1, which is 10. So I'm just going to put 10 and it's cubed. All right. So that's the 10 cubed, and then times. Now the last one I will put in brackets because it's 1 over 60. All right, so it's much easier to put it in brackets, and then you actually this one is squared. Okay, so that we have our squared over there. That's what we would have, okay, for this one. All right, so let's actually hold on a moment. There we go. Well, okay, so we have, just want to make sure, there you go. So that's squared. And now you can hit equals, okay, and it's going to give us our answer. So there you go. All right, so you can keep it. And this would have been millimeters cubed per second squared. So I wonder if you got it, okay? So you can give it a thumbs up on the video if you did, okay? And you can put up any comments that you like. So these ones are definitely a challenge ones for you to see, how well do you understand these unit conversions. And it's kind of the starting point, because I'm sure that as you go into sciences, physics, and maybe others, you're going to have to be comfortable in doing unit conversions. All right, so thanks for watching. Okay, we'll see you in a future video. Bye, everybody.